This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast. I'm your host, Cory, and along with my co-host, Jared, we're best friends, been playing Pokemon for a very long time.
Welcome, everybody, to Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast where my host, Cory, and myself talk about everything related to the Pokemon card worlds, primarily the competitive world, but we're branching out. We're branching out here and there. Lots of good content, collectibles, lots of good content coming. But today, Cory, I think here's what's on the agenda. We've got to talk about the special event in Lima, because that's the tournament that happened this weekend, and we're already seeing some variation and some adjustment. We got to talk about our thoughts about Louisville, because we're both going to be there.
We're going.
I'm so pumped.
This is the first time of us doing the podcast where we've both been at a regionals together. Is that true? I was hesitating to say it.
That's true. The last time we were at a tournament together was Knoxville 2022.
Was that Knoxville 2022? Oh, yeah. I remember I was running a janky Sublime Inteleon.
It was a hot mess.
Because we couldn't get the cards we needed at Target at 4 a.m. or whatever. Yeah, I remember that.
Terrible. We should have been listening to our podcast and have been way more prepared.
Oh, yeah, that was awful. Yeah.
But this is the most prepared I think we've been for a tournament since the college days.
I would agree with that. Usually it's a grab the deck when I show up kind of thing. Our friend of the show, Logan, usually I meet him over at the card stand in the hall, and then grab my deck and I look at it on my way to the first table. So this is much better prepared. Or like at NAIC, I show up to the hotel feeling good, and then I realize I don't have like 3 of the cards that I'm supposed to have. So
it's lovely.
This feels good. I don't know, man. I don't know. It could be in the air. Who knows?
Well, we'll get there, but let's poke our head down to Peru in South America and take a look.
Yep.
Cory, we're looking at the top 8 here. We have, in order, we have the new kid on the block taking it down, Terapogos with Dusknoir, followed by a Raging Bolt. We see Charizard in there. 4 Dragapult decks, 2 of the Dusknoir variation, 2 of the Pidgeot variation. And then the deck that's always in the top 8. It's a standard. It's Gardevoir. Of course it's there.
Yep.
So what are you thinking when you look at that?
I think we had talked about last week about Dusknoir being that what I call it, Uncle Bud. It's like your uncle that likes to come to Thanksgiving, but never helps clean up or anything. Totally is in now all these decks, and you got to be ready to play around the Dusknoir. But Terapogos is clearly not just a fun deck because Stellar Crown came out, so let's just play it in one tournament. Now it's won a tournament, so it had a great showing, and the other 2 regionals last weekend, and now at the special event, although at 308 players, so the smaller one, this was a special event. It takes it down, Jared. So I think that's one of my takeaways, is that Terapogos is here with the Dusknoir and the Hoot Noctowl for a 4/4 of that, by the way. Just helps keep this engine going. So I don't know. That's my first takeaway, is this deck is here to stay, and it's going to be a force to reckon with.
Yeah, I agree. It's here. People are going to be running it. I expect to see a lot of it in Louisville. I think it will still take up day 1 most popular deck. It's just that smooth. Mm-hmm. It's just that good. Now, if they don't find a way to get a Rotom down on their first turn, brother, you got a fighting chance, because that thing slows up real big.
Yeah.
But again, we'll talk about in our second section how we think to get at it. Here's what I want to focus on 2 things. You're saying Terapogos is here, Cory. I think Dragapult is everywhere. I think they saw Ryuki do what he did in Dortmund, and they're realizing the strength and the options, like we talked about last week. This game is good, or this deck is good early. This deck is good mid-game. This deck is good late game. If you get one up, you're in the game. Period. So I don't know what to do with it. I don't know play it, but it doesn't have a weakness. The only thing that beats it is itself.
Yeah. I think Dusknoirs can provide a little bit of a problem against it because you can start to snipe the what are they called?
The
little,
Draculax.
not the Draculax. Isn't Draculax a stage 1?
Yes.
What's the little guy?
Dreepy.
Dreepies. Like you can take those off the board with Dusknoirs, which I know is a little bit overkill, but you can. I think that can still counter hard. Obviously counter plays well. I think Charizard still matches up pretty decently against Dragapult because of its ability to get up to the damage that it needs to one-shot the Dragapults. And Dragapult can't, 260, okay, but then it can't do the double knockout right next turn.
Right.
So it's just because of the health. So I don't know. I think Charizard still has a chance, and I think Raging Bolt can still get on top of Dragapult as well. That could really set them back. I think if Dragapult has to lay down Lumineon, Rotom, like if it needs a supportive type Pokemon, I think that sets it back because those are easy options for prizes, right? You would just play around Dragapult and go for the supportive type Pokemon that maybe that's what turns the tide against it. But it is best deck in format. I agree with you. I think we said it last week. Dragapult Dusknoir is the deck to beat, right? If you're going into a regionals, like if we're going into Louisville and we're like, well, I play really well against every deck except for Dragapult, you're done. You're cooked. Like it's just not going to go well. So it is still best deck, but it didn't win here, Jared. So, I don't know, Terapogos, Raging Bolt, those were in the finals. It wasn't Dragapult. So, I don't know.
Well, I agree. Let's talk about that a little bit because I agree with you. If you look at Terapogos and Charizard, if Terapogos is running the Bouffalon, you have the same situation where the numbers just don't match up as well as they do with other decks where, like you're talking about, where you can get that multi-knockout where you've spread, you boss up what you've spread on, you get the kill, and then your 6 damage counters on the bench get the double knockout. Yep. And I think that's just a good word for playing against. If something gets 200 damage on it, in your mind, you're down 2 prizes already. You have to play down 2 prizes in order to combat it. You can't feel safe against that deck. But Terapogos can get around it. And I think the interesting one to sneak through here is Raging Bolt. Like, to me, Raging Bolt has more answers to Charizard than it does to Dragapult. But it can move, man. Like, anytime that you have a Pokemon that can knock out a 320 health Dragapult, it's a danger. And then it's up to the Dragapult to have some type of engine to keep the Dreepies and the Draculax and all that coming. And if it can't, it's GG, man. That's what I'm saying. It only beats itself.
You're right. I mean, if both decks had ideal starts, it probably wins. Dragapult, it probably wins, 70 times, 7 out of 10 times. Like it probably is, and that's what makes it the best deck in the format. But it does put your opponent at weird spots. Like if you're trying to apply tons of pressure, let's say you're Dragapult and you're going first. When it goes back into your turn, you're rare candying Dragapult. That means you're not getting the Draculaxes out there. So you are susceptible, I think, to an Iono play, especially if you don't have the Pidgeot, which is interesting here because in the top 8, there were 2 paired with Dusknoir and 2 Dragapults paired with Pidgeot. And so it's like, what's the better way to go, Jared? Do you get the ancillary damage or do you take the consistency with Pidgeot?
Well, you and I have been debating this all week in what we want to run for Louisville.
Yeah.
Like, we're not running Dragapult. So if you sit down next to us,
sorry, Dragapult, we're not running.
But we've been debating that, and I feel better on the consistency side, and it feels like you feel better on the options, more aggressive side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you can, you either have to attack this thing 2 different ways, right? It's either get on top of it quick, or have the ability, because it does not one-shot. So as Dragapult doesn't. So as long as you play around the 260 thing where it gets the double knockout, I think you're in your good shape. But these 2 decks played very differently because the Dusknoir changes the mapping as far as damage counters go, right? So you play around that differently than you do the Pidgeot. And so it just depends on which one you get and what your deck does. But I'm saying you got to do one or the other because if you're just trying to keep pace with it, I think you lose every time. So it's either come with a sweep at the end and just one-shot everything, or go real quick at the beginning, so it can't even really get set up and get going. So you got to pick one or the other against it. But
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
I think I like the just to quickly go back to Terapagos. I thought the Vitality Band was cool in that build. One in there. It gives it the one shot against itself in a mirror match, right? The 220 because the DCE, and the Vitality gives it the 230. So I thought that was a very cool addition to this deck. And I also love, and I don't know why, Jared, and obviously Featherball has been in a ton of decks recently. Why has that never been a thing earlier with the Pidgeot deck? Like, why are we just seeing this now as opposed to why wasn't this in Pidgeots a year ago?
I don't know. Everyone associates that card with Mew VMAX.
Mew, yeah.
And then Mew VMAX goes away, and everyone's like, eh.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, nothing else has free retreat in here. Everything else except Pidgeot. So it's like, why? I don't know. I think that's a kind of a cool one-off card that's just in there for Pidgeot. But why not? Because that's the most important card you're searching for anyway to get set up. So
Absolutely.
I think that's cool. But yeah, man.
One more observation I have about this. 5 of the top 8 decks piloted by Chilean players.
Oh.
So all I'm saying is, if you want to be the very best, like no one ever was,
sure,
you need to get down to Chile.
You need to get down to Chile. But Jared, where were the Cifuenteses? Like, you have 3 shots at this, and none of them are in the top 8. What's going on?
Listen. All I'm saying is you got this new poster of Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't care about the regular season. He's playing for Super Bowls, Corey. He's playing for Super Bowls. And that's what the Cifuentes family does.
Was Fernando deflating cards against his opponents at World? Maybe should there be a deflate gate? Maybe spy gate in there?
Oh my goodness!
You know, I don't know. There's some suspiciousness, but yeah, very Chile. If you want to be a good Pokemon player, you better move down to the Chilean area of the world. So very, very good observation, Jared. I'm glad we had a special event. One last big, regional type deal before we get to Louisville, where we'll see, obviously a ton of NA players, probably the high-end EU players, and some of those high-end Latin American players. This would be a good regionals coming up here.
I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to get out there, sit down round 1, just kind of settle in and just play some Pokemon, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that. I mean, you and I, we've been looking at the data. We've been talking a lot of decks. We're for the first time, we're always trying to read the meta and make predictions. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not.
Yep.
What are you predicting? Like, if you had to say day 1 meta share, the top 3 decks are going to be what?
Top 3 decks? You don't have to give them an order?
No.
I would say Raging Bolt, Charizard, Dragapult would be my top.
Really?
Would be my top 3. I think, and I'll go a step further because I think Terapogos is obviously doing well at 1 here. I don't see it in the top 3 at Louisville. Day one. I think it's Charizard. I think it's Raging Bolt. And if you're giving me Dragapult, Dusknoir, and Pidgeot, then for sure. And that's probably going to be the most played deck if you're giving me both variants of it. I think Regidrago's close. Guardy always seems to be obviously top 5, top 6, and then I think Terapagos is in there too, obviously. So maybe those are my 6 decks that'll be the top 6 at Louisville. What do you think? Do you think that's close or no?
I don't think. I just believe Terapagos will be more played. Success in a tournament, getting a win usually inspires the next tournament, an uptick in that deck. So I think we will see Terapagos in there. If I had to put them in order, I would probably say Raging Bolt, Terapagos, Dragapult.
Raging Bolt, Terapagos, Dragapult.
Because you still have, you saw Raging Bolt get the win in Japan.
Yep.
So I still think there's some momentum there. That deck hasn't lost anything. It's still very strong. It's very quick. It can go the toe-to-toe the distance with anyone. It usually just comes down to an Iono or something in that deck.
Yep.
So I think it still has some juice. I think, and then you fill it out after that, right? Like Charizard. How much of Lugia are we going to see, right? Like, Didn't see it in Lima, but it was very strong, and it has been very strong this season.
Jared, how dare I? How dare I? I forgot about Lugia. I want to redo my rankings now. Maybe Lugia's. No, NA loves Lugia. Right behind us, Raul on Lugia. I'll give you Lugia top 3. I'm gonna move out. I don't know who I'm gonna move out. Can I have just Lugia as part of my top 3, but keep 4 decks in?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hedging your bets. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Just hedge the bets. I don't know. I just think that makes sense. Sure.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because this is important okay. So this is how we're predicting the meta is going to shift, right? So what we're saying is we're going to see Terapogos. So you have to be able to deal, regardless, you have to have a game plan for Dusknoir. You have to be ready for a Dusknoir to evolve in all of the options, which is last episode, what you said is so difficult about Dragapult, because how do you game plan for all of the variable outcomes that deck can throw at you? You can't.
I'm serious. Like right behind my shoulder here. If you're listening on the podcast on audio, get to YouTube, Teach Me Pokemon Podcast, watch the video here. I think Ryuki, I'm telling you, I said this last week, and this is no knock on Raul. He's obviously top tier player, been playing forever. I think Ryuki used that to his advantage. I think sometimes Raul just didn't know how much damage could just be outputted at one time. I mean, he knew he can count. He's very smart, but like it can just all of a sudden just sweep the board. And I just think that is the advantage that these Dusknoirs paired with the Dragapults have versus the Pidgeot version. Pidgeot, very predictable. You know exactly what's going to, you could almost predict what card they're going to search for with Pidgeot. With the Dusknoir version, I don't know. I think it leaves a lot up to confusion. And then, anyway, I know we talked about it last week. I won't carpet it. Yeah, man. Right behind me. I think it's going on right now. Right now.
It is. It's a lot. And you're right. It's like, because they don't have to they can execute it at any time, right? Are they going to Dusknoir me this turn? Are they going to Dusknoir me next turn?
Yeah.
Or where are they going to spread damage? And it's just, what do you do, man? It's just, it feels like you're playing confused.
Yeah, I know. And again, you can use it to your advantage, right? I mean, you're getting prizes every time they do it. So, it just put your opponent in a position where they can't do that. Like, and I was, when the card came out, I was telling you on live, I was like, oh yeah, GG, I got some of these matches, and then I'd kill myself and then lose. So it's like, oh, dang it. So it's like, put your opponent in positions where they can't Dusknoir, and that's easier said than done. And a lot of times that's what makes the mirror matches so interesting, because you're Dusknouring each other, or the Dragapult matches because you're 16 on the Duskulls. So those matches are very intriguing into each other, but you can't just lay back and let them just do their thing. So, but anyway, that would be I would take I would play the Dusknoir variant of Dragapult over the Pidgeot variant of Dragapult.
And I would go the opposite way. Give me that Pidgeot, man. Give me that Pidgeot. Well, let's talk now some high-level strategy, because I think there are some things, and I want your opinion on this, because I know you love the chess match aspect of Pokemon a lot. It feels like for some of these decks that need the ability to go fetch any card that it needs, the Terapogos, the Charizard, the Dragapult, all these decks that run Pidgeot. It is my opinion. I'm wondering if it's your opinion. You have to go for the Pidgeot to have any chance of beating these decks. If they get a Pidgeot out, that is public enemy number one. You cannot worry about the attacking Pokemon until the Pidgeot is gone.
Yes. Yeah, I would say most likely, but I still think you have to read the board, and you just can't zero in on Pidgeot. Pidgeot, got to kill it. Like, I think if your opponent has 2 Dreepies on board and you have the ability to Greninja both of them and snipe them down, or you could one-shot the Pidgeot, I would opt to kill the Dreepies, because that takes 2 Dreepies off the board, and now they have to lay them down again before evolving the next turn, and maybe one's prized, or maybe they can only grab one more out of their deck, and then you gun for it again. I don't care. Keep Pidgeotting for cards. You will never be able to get a Dragapult back up. Now, if they have 3 Dreepies, go for Pidgeot, because then there's no value in killing the Dreepies at that point. You can't clear the board of them. So, like, I would play that game more times than not. You're right. get the Pidgeot out. It takes a lot of resources to even get that thing up, and they're finding one card they want every turn. So like, yeah, you're probably right, Jared, but I still think you can't just zero in on Pidgeot. I think it still matters what else is going on in the game.
No, I agree. I agree. The situational awareness has to happen. But I feel like what I've learned over time and people is like Pidgeot, it's not Charizard or Terapogos or Dragapult. Pidgeot is the death knell for most people. You're going to lose because of the Pidgeot. Why? Because you can't hide anything. There's no more hiding anything. If they want that Prime Catcher, if they want that Boss's Order, if they want that Iono, they're getting what they want on their turn, and their Pokemon are already strong enough to combat that. So I just think I'm hoping to see from myself and on stream a lot at Louisville, the thing that you have to undercut is their ability to get the next Pokemon. Not the Pokemon that's out there that's going to slap you again, but you have to, and that's exactly what you said in your example. I killed 2 Dreepies because, I'm going to get hit back from that Dragapult. But the one after that, I'm not going to see that for at least 2 turns.
Yes. Yeah, because most Pidgeot decks aren't paired with decks that have basics that attack.
Right.
So it's not, it takes time to ramp back up. Most cases, right? There's always still the
Terapogos is the tough.
The Terapogos is the tough one because it's like, I cleared the Pidgeot. Oh, good for you. It doesn't really matter. They have Hoots and they have all the things going, and so that becomes difficult in that situation. But I think it's always safe to assume, and I think I've talked about this in past episodes, is you should be playing for the assumption that your opponent has the perfect hand. Right? Like, what is the best hand they could have right now to disrupt me? So, and they're, that's how you should play. They're going to get it with Pidgeot. They can find any card. So, like, you should be setting yourself up to have a response for whatever the worst thing is. If you're just sitting there like, well, I really hope they don't have Boss Order. I would be screwed if they have Boss Order. Well, 9 times they have Boss Order. Even if they don't have Pidgeot, they always have Boss Order. So it's like, play like you have a response to the worst thing that's about to happen to you. And if it doesn't happen, then you're probably going to win the match. So, yeah. But yeah, you're right. Gun for Pidgeot, take that out of play. It is very rare in matches. I was about to make up a statistic, but I won't lie to you. But like, very rare to get another. I was going to say, Jared, only 7% of the time does an opponent get a Pidgeot back on the board again after you knock it. Not just a full blank lie, but like, it rarely happens. Especially in those decks that are burning candies for other things. You run out of candies, you can't get the Pidgeot back. So
that's done.
Get it off the board. I'm with you. Strategy: get the Pidgeot.
All right. Next question I have to you, because it feels like that our A-Spec Crystal is so strong, as well as so our other tools that are very strong, and our special energies are at a premium right now. Will we see more decks that traditionally don't run Temple of Sinnoh and don't run Jamming Tower add that to their list to try to combat what the Terapogos is doing and what the Dragapult is doing? And I know it helps against a lot of different matchups, but it feels like that could be a trendy play to give some kind of competitive advantage. I know a lot of decks are already running like one of each, but will we see a certain deck run just 4 Temple of Sinnohs or 3 Jamming Towers, knowing that this is probably going to be the hotness come Louisville?
And I don't even know. Maybe if you ran like de-evolvers or something, but like if you felt really strong, well, let's use that example. Let's say you ran de-evolvers. You could do that and pair it with Sinnohs, because you could just de-evolve the Dragapults and maybe you feel like you have an advantage there, and then you have the Sinnohs for the Terapogos. So, you probably pick one or the other, whichever one you feel like you have a stronger advantage in. Maybe if you're running a fighting deck, maybe you have the weakness advantage, so then run Tower to shut off the crystals or something. So I think it just would depend. I do see, there are decks that run one of each, just in case. Those would be decks probably don't rely heavily on tools and obviously don't need special energy. So maybe you do sneak in one and then you have a pivot option in either. But I think I'd be more timid about the one Temple, simply because Area 0, they run 3. And the Hoot is it Hoot? Am I even saying that right?
The Noctowl. Yeah.
Hoot hoot. What is hoot hoot?
That's the basic. That's the basic.
The Noctowl, the Octowl. I hate the names of these Pokemon. It can find 2 trainers, so it's gonna get another Area 0. Your temple's gone, and now you're done because you only have 1 copy. So it's like, is that even worth it? The Jamming Tower, I think, has more effectiveness in a 1 play, and I say for a few reasons. Early game, it shuts down a Forest Seal, which is a huge. Sometimes that's Arvin, Forest Seal, Stone. If there's a stadium down, they can't get rid of it. So that's clutch. It can disrupt the crystal play. So if they don't have Pidgeot, maybe it's Dusknoir. Drop Tower Iono down to 2 or Iono down to 4. Maybe they don't get another energy. So that's a tough one, and they can't clear it. And then the big one, which isn't a really prominent deck much anymore, but Raging Bolt runs this too. But it is the berry, the
Bravery Charms.
Bravery Charms. So it's like that. They put on a Drifloon in Gardevoir. You drop Tower, you get a knockout normally there because the damage counter is already on there. And then the Raging Bolt loses that effectiveness too. So I almost lean towards Tower. Unless you are just terrified of Terapogos, then you have to run multiple copies of Sinnoh. If you're I just think unless you time it very, very well, and they've played 2 Area 0s, this is my 3rd one, or they've discarded 1 and they have 1 other, maybe it's prized. So you just be strategic, but you can't just drop Temple and think you're good. That's more what I'm getting at.
That's fair. That's fair. Next question for you is, will we see a spicy deck make a run here? My favorite one from last season was when Andrew Hedrick won with Dialga Matang.
Yeah,
that was a sick run. That was a great tournament to watch. That deck never really made that kind of run again. So is Louisville going to be the place where we see something that's maybe been a fringe B, C tier deck find a run, or is there something that the community as a whole isn't seen yet that we're going to see at this tournament? What's your thought about that?
The first thing that came to mind was I wonder if we'll see a Miraidon Area 0 deck with Mewtwo, and I don't know if that's enough to be spicy, but you have the the acolytes, what would you call it? The followers, the supporters of Jesse Parker, and they will be there probably. I don't know. I think did Mahomes retire, Jared? Is he just a YouTube or
he still shows up at tournaments sometimes, man. Never count him out.
When are we getting our show, by the way? I want our TV show, but Mahomes always been one to lean towards electric type stuff, and so Jesse. So I could see if they want to put that deck together, Area 0 with the Raikou, maybe that makes a surprise run, but that's the first thing that came to mind. But again, I don't know if you're going to say that's spicy enough, but I could see that being a deck that makes a run at a North American regionals.
I dig it. No, I like it a lot. It'll be fun to watch. It's always great to see what's happening, to talk to people at the tournament, to see and walk by the top tables and witness what's going down there live. It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be legit, man. And if you see us, man, say hi. You just know our voices. I heard you before. Teach Me Pokemon podcast. Just have a shout out. Give us a shout out at the table.
Yeah, give us a shout out.
And if you're playing us and you feel like giving us a dub, I don't care. I don't care. I will not mind that. I am not beneath that. So, we'll chat afterwards. It's fine. And I don't care. Am I okay to say that? So,
man,
it'll be fun just getting out there, man. And then we got our junior playing.
Ooh, we do.
If you got a kid playing in this tournament, if you got a junior, be ready. Be ready. Eli's coming for you. So that'll be fun too.
We all remember our very first regionals that we went to, and you sit down and you're just looking around and you're like, whoa. Yeah. This is wild. You first really big. I remember the biggest tournament that we went to early on we talk about this a lot, was when we went to the Grinder.
Yeah.
In Orlando back in 2017, 2018. I don't even remember.
I don't remember. Long time ago.
Long time ago. No, 2008. 18. What am I talking about? 2008.
2008. We were riding horses in there. It was that long ago.
It was a long time. But the spectacle of it all is just like, whoa.
Oh, it's the spectacle, and it's the like this. There are more people that play this game than what I see at my league, or maybe a city. See, that's how old we are. A league cup or a league challenge. You walk into a room with thousands of people. You're like, geez, everybody's in here to play Pokemon, which is just mind blowing to me. That so this is your first one, because there are not that many this year, Jared. This is like a huge, it's just a different way of Pokemon doing this season with regional. So if you're in the area, most likely you are going to Louisville because you don't have a lot of other opportunities. There's no Charlotte this year. There's no like Fort Wayne, there's just not other ones that are kind of close-ish by to drive to. So you're going to be going to this tournament for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I want to lead us into our education moment. And this is going to be one of the most authentic and heartfelt education moments, because what I'm about to talk about, I know our listeners have struggled with. I am struggling with it currently. I believe my co-host is probably struggling with this. Cory, I know we all suffer from DD.
Are we taking something for it, or what is it?
And by DD, I mean deck doubt.
Oh,
we're all wrestling with deck doubt. Going into a big tournament. I have said for 6 weeks now that I am running a certain deck.
Yeah.
Called Cory 2 days ago. Hey, I'm not running that anymore.
You're off it.
Yeah. I lost 3 games in a row on live. I'm not running it anymore. I'm running this now. Yeah. But I wanna get in a little bit and talk about a couple different reasons why we may experience deck doubt.
Okay.
DD. It's a very debilitating,
awful
problem. The first reason is things like you and I have experienced. You're practicing it so much, and you just get on a bad run.
Yeah.
You get on a bad run. Yeah. And what I want to tell everybody is every deck gets on a bad run.
Sure.
It does.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right. Preach it.
Cory was telling me the deck that we're planning on running, he went on a 13-1 run, and then he's on
my first 13 matches on this thing after you told me to run it. I said, fine. 13 in a row. Crazy. Just boom, boom,
crazy.
Boom.
And then a 6-0 run after the L. I've had long winning routes on this. And again, it's live. I understand. We're not, you don't get to play Zool every time.
Yeah, well, I do.
On live.
I play Zool, but yeah, that's fine. No, you actually do. You played Zool on live. You actually did. So.
But I want to encourage everyone, if you've been running something and running it consistently leading up to the tournaments, and you think it has an honest meta chance, that's my kind of caveat there, then go for it. You should run that deck. I'm saying it right now. I'm not going to abandon what I've been playing, even though I feel like it right now.
Yeah.
Right. So that's reason number one that you could be affected by DD, and I want you to be. Reason number two is you leave that deck because you don't want to fail on that deck.
Yes.
Like it would just be so heartbreaking.
Like, what do you mean you don't want to? Like if you fail.
What I mean is it's easier to switch your deck at the last minute. And then when you get rocked, say, oh, I just picked it up at the last minute.
Oh, sure.
Like I was running this other deck. I should have played that deck. And then you have this out. And you don't have to face the fact necessarily that if you bomb on the deck that you've been playing consistently, that you bombed.
No, that's right. That's good. You're hitting home. You're hitting close to home.
You got to, because that's what I feel like right now. I feel like switching to another deck, like at the last second, and when I don't make a run on it, saying, "Oh, no big deal." Like I only played it for a couple days leading up to Louisville. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Dang. All right. Okay. What's the last one?
The last reason is just an over-analyzation or an overthinking of either your deck or the meta.
Yep. Okay.
You put in, again, tech, don't spec. If it's been running well, run it. I'm going to pick on Rahul. He's been running that Lugia, man. He's
Man,
been running that Lugia.
running that. He sees that Lugia in his sleep.
I wouldn't want. And would you want to? If you sat across from Rahul and he flips over Cincino, are you like F? Crap.
Yeah, I'm probably feeling a little down because I'm like, crap, this guy knows this deck in and out. He's on a run right now. And I guarantee you, he's not going off it. He's been on the show once. I think Raul is going to ride this Lugia to make sure he qualifies for Worlds.
Absolutely.
And then he might run something else. But
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, if it ain't broke, dude, keep going.
Go with it.
Does that give you an advantage? Like he probably will switch out a card or two, but now Lugia. So maybe that helps that you know what Raul's running. So maybe you should feel nice.
I don't think it does. Knowing what Raul's 60 helps me nothing against that man. Things got to break right. I've got to make the right moves. I'm not worried about knowing that he only runs a 1-1 Cincino-Vincino line. Like, great.
It would help you. I promise it would help. Because let's say he has forced to research Minchino. Now you know that's never coming back into play.
Because there's no Super Rod.
So it gives you information. I don't know. I think you're fine.
I'm even more scared at that point when he does it on purpose. I'm like, oh, what's he got?
He's running.
Did he text something else that I don't even know about? There's like this Insiders Lugias group.
Yeah, he's got
it. Yeah. But that's the thing I want to say, because I imagine some people are going to listen to this Friday before the tournament. And I want to say, whatever you've been working hard on the other educations, whatever you have found consistency with, whatever you feel most comfortable, most knowledgeable about, I encourage you to, one, play that. And if you lose, go back and listen to some of our older education moments where we talk about how that can be one of the best things that happens to you. And then don't quit on that deck. Challenge yourself to get better. That's what I'm going to do. I'm saying right here, right now, I'm going to run the deck that I've put many hours in practicing. If I get my butt handed to me, which I might,
sure, then
that's okay. And I'm just going to keep right back at it, knowing that I gave myself the best shot. The best tournament finish that I've ever had, that my 5-1-3, I think was my best, or my 5-3-1, something like that, when we were in Memphis that one year. I was running SB Garb, man. I was playing it. I knew the deck.
You do it.
That's how I feel going into this.
No, I think that's brilliant. I think you forgot a fourth symptom of the DD.
Please.
It's when your best friend says, "Hey, there's this other deck you can run." Hey, did you see what this guy was running? And I was like, yeah, I know. And then you're like, but no, it's this version of that card. And I was like, what? And then I get on, I play a few games, and it's like, oh dear, this is really good. That's the fourth symptom. So, I don't know how you cure that one, but your boy might be switching here at the last minute. And
that's a good word. Don't listen to your friends at all. Within 72 hours of a tournament, block it all out. But it's funny too. In the same breath that we say this, we could tell you countless stories of people that have put decks together the last night. Really, it's the skills that you bring and gird you as a foundation, allow you to be the best Pokemon player. The deck is going to hit or miss and do what you need to do based on what's there that day.
Have no regrets. Don't just, but I guarantee you, this is 100 out of 100 times, except unless you were the person that won the tournament. You're sitting there like, if I had run Gardevoir instead, I would have been 9-0. Like, if I had run Raging Bolt instead, I would have made day 2. Like, that happens every single person that didn't win. Even Raul is probably like, if I just ran something else that countered Dragapult, I would have taken this thing down. Like, everybody thinks it. So don't worry about it. No regrets. Get into it. Feel good about your deck. You did an awesome exercise. I called you on the way over here with our star junior apprentice, Elijah, and he had to memorize his deck. What are your 60 cards? If you can't fill out your deck list without looking at your deck, you're not ready. You're not ready. You got to be able to fill it out on your own. So there you go.
That's it. That's a good word.
Cool.
We hope all of you don't suffer from DD these next couple of days.
Yep.
Keep your mind safe. Stay sharp. Don't listen to your friends in the last moment when they tell you that they've solved the meta. And and it involves no draw engine and copycats. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Be strong enough in those situations to not do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna be so unhappy with yourself.
All right, Cory. Last question. What is gonna win at Louisville? Got to ask you. We're there. Not who, because I'm in the tournament, so I'm obviously saying this guy right here.
Yeah, you're winning.
Is winning Louisville, and I expect you to say the same. But what deck? Assuming that it's not our deck.
And I'm not just saying this because you leave only one option for me to say, but I truly think it's going to be Dragapult. It's going to be a variant. Don't put me to the test of which one, but it's just too strong, and I think it'll be in the hands of very good players. It'll have probably the highest day 2 share. It'll have 3 in top 8, and it'll be the championship deck. But I don't know which one. If you had to put a gun to my head, I'd say Dragapult. But Dragapult wins.
All right, I'm gonna tell you right now. This is gonna be a hot take. Give me Baby Roaring Moon. Give me Ancient Box. Why Dusknoir can't kill it? 10 HP short. Dusknoir wants nothing to do with Ancient Box. Give me Ancient Box in a crazy upset. It doesn't have abilities. It has a good draw engine. Throw 1 Pheasantipity to drop on your last turn when you need the cards that you need. Ancient Box.
Hey, Matthew, can you edit this out? We can't hear anybody say this. That's the deck. Should we run it? Oh, wait, we're still on right now. We'll see y'all next time. That's a great idea, Jared. Run Baby Roaring Moon. Hey, let's put it together. We'll put it together.
Oh, it's together. Oh, it's part of my DD problem.
I want it. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to the episode of Teaching Pokemon Podcast. Cory, Jared, we'll be in Louisville this weekend. And as always, we'll catch you later.
You can find us at roguemedianetwork.com. Teach Me Pokemon Podcast. Come and dive with us.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.